You're listening to Zoom the TBT with Charge and Hayner.
Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. It is Zoom the TBT of Charge and Hayner. Charge, are you still awake out there? You look a little bleary.
I am. Oh, man, I've been out working out of town all week, so I am exhausted. Driving all over Chicago and Wisconsin for the past 4 days has been fun. Work's been great, but yeah, I'm tired, but nothing like talking about the Omaha region to get me pumped back up again.
Should be pretty exciting. You were in Chicago and Wisconsin. Did you eat bratwursts?
I did not eat bratwurst, but interesting quick story, though. The one thing I did not know existed in Wisconsin, I know they had the Packers, I know they have cheese curds, but they have a Danish called the Kringle, which was amazing. Yeah, so if you're from Wisconsin, you know what I'm talking about. 50-plus years, I've never heard of a Kringle, but man alive, what a great little Danish. So go to Wisconsin, get the Danish.
You know what I love about Wisconsin? There's so much cheese there. Everybody's shaped just like my microphone. It's pretty funny.
Hey, one thing I noticed, you changed your hat this year on all the previews. When I'm watching these, you used to have the blue stripe going around your hat. Now you got a black.
I still have that. I still have that hat. Well, what happened was that was my old Tigers hat, and I have another. That might get because this hat's starting to show some perspiration stains. So
you may have to break out the blue again then.
The blue
I just noticed that watching the previews, and it's only been a couple 2 or 3 years, but I look about 20 years older since then. So we got to update these preview pictures.
No, we don't. If you look older, we'll keep them the same they are. I'm not regretting that shit. Okay, let's get into it before we both fall asleep. Okay, the Omaha Regional. This is a fantastic bracket. I mean, just star-studded at the top. You got the Gutter Cats coming in with the Team Hines flavor. You got a always dangerous Team Arkansas, Barford and those guys. You got flavor bottom, the guys. You've got overtime elite, the guys from high school trying to make their name early. You've got the underdogs, which are chronically underrepresented, underrespected. And it doesn't even mention the hosts and the Blue Crew. So this is a star-studded regional. Should be a lot of fun. Charge. Let's get right into this too. Gutter Cats versus a crew. First of all, what is a Gutter Cat?
I mean, we had Brandon on the show, but obviously it's pretty cool. I mean, we kind of joke about it because me and Hayner are a little older, and the whole crypto and NFT stuff.
Speak for yourself. Speak for yourself.
You're old. You're 40-ish. So, we had Brandon on the show. That was a great time. But fantastic Gutter Cat gangs community has been fun on social media, online, supporting this team. But Gutter Cat gangs really is all about Team Hines. So obviously Gutter Cat gangs is sponsoring. So whether you call it a merge or a sponsorship, but this is the team formerly known as Team Hines, and they're loaded as ever. They've had probably more roster transition than anybody leading up to this point of TBT. Every day when I go pull the new rosters, there's somebody gone, somebody new added. So, I think we're getting pretty close to the lockout time. So we'll see what shows up exactly, but this team's going to be dominant early on into TBT when you get to the reigning MVP and champion from Boeheim's Army, Tyrese Rice, on your team. Kyle Hines is, a EuroLeague legend. They got a charge guy, Will Cherry, who's been in the NBA and just really tough-nosed player and a great supporting cast. So Gutter Cat Gang, obviously, I don't think anyone expects them to kind of slip up in the early rounds, but they will face some good competition. And the big thing here is, I'm just concerned with who's going to show up. So are we going to get, the same players that are not listed here because those have already changed, but same players that are on the roster currently, and with all the moving in and out, the preparation obviously gets a little tougher when you're trying to juggle last minute changes. So, they don't want to be caught off guard, but there's always that possibility. A few years back when they were Sicklerville, they got bounced in the first round. So hopefully we don't see that this year, but star-studded team. And, if all goes well and they play the right way, they'll go deep.
It is worth mentioning. I like to mention this just to give our stats department a help. These were made by one of our interns over the last couple of weeks. There's a lot of to bite off each game. So when you have a weekend TBTs that are the roster changes a lot. So we're going to talk about some players that may not even be there possibly. So stop me if there's anything done, Charge. I will say this in generalities, though. Everybody here on this roster, and anybody I assume has replaced some of these names who have left, plays at an EuroLeague or high Europe level. There are no one in this who's playing a B League, no one else who's playing an under league. And the only guy who didn't play last year overseas was the reigning MVP, Tyrese Rice. He's the only guy who didn't play last year overseas, just walked out with $1 million last year and made the big shot. So, I mean, you're talking about an absolutely loaded squad, even if we don't know what a gutter cat is. Okay, now the Crew, completely different story. Greatest shot, one of the greatest shots in college basketball history, 1998. Bryce Drew hits the running three to have Valpo beat Ole Miss, one of the greatest upsets of all time, one of the iconic shots of college basketball. And so if a team is going to beat the Gutter Cats, Kyle Hines hybrid of strength, it's got to be somebody with the sort of spiritual antecedent of being a team done it before. Now, they're the same players. It was 24 years ago, but they wear the same colors and have the same spirit. So how can they tap into what they have to give the Gutter Cats a run? Are we asking too much of the Crew?
Like I said, I don't think so. Once again, not going to be as recognizable names, not EuroLeague names, but I mean, they got a handful of guys here that are averaging over 20 points a game in some of the secondary leagues over in Europe. And if you're still playing at that level, it's just like NBA, G League. If you're in the G League, you can ball, you can play. Same thing in Europe. If you're not in the EuroLeague, it doesn't mean you're not a high quality player. So these guys, they got 3 guys averaging over 20 points a game in Luxembourg and Norway, and my blindness, Luxembourg again. So, these are, some of the leagues that these guys are playing in. But I think what you're going to have is, kind of the same thing we talked about Peacock Nation, is that these guys are going to be pretty cohesive. I've seen that they're already together, already in training camp, already doing their things on social media. So, yeah, you just can't sleep on these guys, because at any given time you do, and you're getting bounced out early in TBT. So, and we've seen it happen in the past. So you got to, if you're Gutter Cat gang, come in with your best game, and don't sleep on the Crew.
Now, what I do like about this, though, is if a team is going to beat the Gutter Cat gang, and that's going to be a tough sell. It's a tough thing to do. An alumni team has a good chance because they probably grew up running the same stuff. They had the same sort of coaching sort of tree. They're going to probably have the same sort of background, which means they're used to playing together. The only weakness of a team like Gutter Cats, when you assemble an all-star team, is you're assembling an all-star team. As good as those guys all are, they run different systems. They're not used to playing with each other. Now, talent wins out. Let's be clear. You can put 5 of the best players on. You're going to win games. But cohesion and team spirit and team familiarity can mask some talent sins or some lack of talent. So the Crew are a heavy underdog, and I would honestly be very surprised if they win this game. But I'm not putting out the possibility. It just isn't an impossible ask. So we'll see. It should be interesting. I expect them at least to put a little bit of work in. Now, this one we kind of differ on a bit. We're going to talk a little bit next about Always Us, the Oregon alumni, versus the delightful gentlemen, the Jackson, Tennessee underdogs, the hour north of Memphis, Tennessee. Some really good guys. They've gone very deep in this before. Obviously, there's been some roster changes since then. But always come to play a little bit. So we're going to bat this one back and forth. We're believers in different teams. I'm going to make you talk about Always Us because that's where you're going with this matchup. So what do you think? Always Us, what's up?
Yeah, I think this is one of the best teams in TBT that nobody talks about. Obviously some of the other teams get a lot more shine. Some of the other alumni get a lot more shine. But I think Always Us is just a solid 4 seed. When you're looking at guys like Garrett Sim, EJ Singler, Dwayne Benjamin. I mean, these guys are, still playing in, some of the top leagues. And, it's going to be a solid squad. They had the ability to make a great run last year. They added Jacob Young, drawing a blank, but they had a nice ad here somewhat recently too. So I think Always Us is just a solid team. They got that 2-1 record in the TBT, so they've won in the TBT before, and and you kind of led that way. I see no reason why Always Us isn't gonna run through Jackson underdogs this season.
I will say Garrett Sim. I mean, he's shooting 44% in a high in Turkish league, almost 8 hoists a game. That's floor spacing you can't buy. I mean, that's insanity. Like there's a lot of guys. There's guys, and then like Singler shooting 40% on 5.5 hoists. Finke's shooting 5.5 hoists at 43. I mean, like these guys are just can fill it up beyond the arc. And the thing about when you have multiple guys that can shoot is they're a complete nightmare to cover because the spacing becomes so wide. The geometry of the game breaks down. That's what you see with the Warriors. We can do a 5-out offense. Everybody can shoot. It becomes a real problem defensively. So you'd have to be pretty stupid to pick the underdogs. So let me tell you why I'm stupid then. I'm dummy.
Yeah, so, well, if they've been watching this show, they get that, but that's okay.
So anyway, No, I mean, look, 6 TBT wins, of which, to be fair, 3 came in 1 year, but still 6 TBT wins. They never get any credit. I mean, never. And literally, the bulk of their roster doesn't play professionally. Well, these guys didn't play professionally. They played their last college ball years ago. Only 2 guys have. Only 2 guys have pro experience. Only 1 guy has pro experience in the last couple of years, actually. So, and they're all undersized. I mean, Will Coleman prevents really their only size. So they're not professionals. They lack size. They're older. There's really no reason they should win, except for one thing: they always find a way to win. So I'm tired of betting against the guys. I think Always Us is a prohibitive favorite. I think it should be favored by 15 to 20 points. And I'm still picking the underdogs because screw it. They always win a game. Like, I don't care. I don't care if they're playing the fucking Warriors. They're going to find a way to win a damn game. So Always Us is better, more talent, should have favor. I'll be damned if the underdogs don't win the game, period. Just because they always do.
Yeah, no, they. I had to look it up because I was curious if they ever lost a first round game, and they have won 4 out of 5 opening round games. Even some of their second round games where they got bounced. I mean, they were close games against some elite talent. Their only loss in the first round was to the Banner Boys. I didn't write down the year, but by 2 points. So they played a really hard game against the Banner Boys. And yeah, I went out there after they Jalen Barford left and joined Team Arkansas, and said they basically had 0 chance, which I said about Aftershocks last year. So I'm always going to bomb a big time on one team every year. So I've got bombed on Jackson Underdogs 2 years ago, Aftershocks last year. But yeah, this one here, like I said, everybody wants them to win. Everyone's going to root for the underdogs. They love being the underdogs, but I think this is the year where Always Us is just too tough. They're going to come in, and I think it's going to be a tough game for them, and I think they're going to get a little overmatched, and Always Us will take this one home.
I actually don't think you're on. I think I will go as Us, but I'll be damned if I'm picking against the dogs.
No, you have to.
Okay. This is fascinating. And this is actually where I wanted to see the underdogs in this matchup. This is the one I wanted to see underdogs overtime elite. This is what I wanted to see here. I want to see Creighton versus I want to see Blue Crew versus Always Us. I want to see underdogs versus overtime. So the home team versus overtime elite. Now, or team overtime. Charge, tell people kind of your understanding of what the kind of idea behind team overtime or overtime elite is.
All right. I was multitasking at that point in time. So
your understanding of overtime elite, yeah.
Just talk about overtime elite. So obviously, it's kind of a hybrid G League Ignite situation. So obviously not affiliated with the NBA G League, NBA, but these are really young professionals looking to start out their career in professional basketball. In a kind of alternative route versus going to college and the standard traditional route. So they have a couple just star players on their team this year with the Thompson twins, who arguably should be top 10 picks in the NBA draft when their time is up. So they're phenomenal. And that's going to be my. I'm just going to keep rolling. So I know the slide's not up there, but I'm just going to keep rolling with overtime elite. But
I'll go to the slide. Go see the slide.
Got a slide for me. Why not?
Yeah,
I'm just going with it.
Whatever, go. Playlist, go ahead.
But I think the key here is going to be how much the Thompson twins play. I'm really high on overtime elite, and I originally said there's no way Blue Crew wins a game, and we'll talk about them next. But man, they have a good roster, so now I'm almost kind of regretting those words, and I may kind of step back a little bit on that. But if the Thompson twins play legit minutes and they're as good as they're billed to be, this is going to be a really good game. They have some really good NBA type talent supporting them with Tino Jackson, Marcus Thornton, Malcolm Thomas, some really experienced TBT guys there that are going to help support them. So I think it's going to kind of hinge on the Thompson twins and whether or not they see legitimate minutes and if they can handle the physicality of a team like Omaha Blue Crew.
Yeah, I think the committee did them no favors too in giving them a true road game. And maybe that's part of the point. It's like, hey, listen, you guys think you're professionals. You guys want to go to the NBA next year. Here's playing someone else's house in front of probably will be 5,000 to 6,000 fans. And hey, good luck with that. Let's see what you're made of. So it does depend on how much they play. That will be I'm fascinated by this matchup. The Blue Crew also presented an interesting problem. They do have a very, very nice roster. I think Patton's not playing, right?
Patton is out.
Patton's out.
So that's one of the
ones. So that hurts a lot. Yeah. But I still have Gilder, right?
Yeah, so that's the thing here is even with Patton out, and there's probably 2 or 3 picks in my official bracket, which I'll release, I guess, Saturday morning at some point that I may switch out. And this one, I'm really on the fence with Omaha because I thought they snuck by a couple games last year, but when I started really looking at that roster this year, but thanks Walt, he's our college basketball expert and a friend of the podcast now, taking part in our draft. Kind of really talked about Gilden quite a bit on that particular call, or Gilder on that particular call, and the guy's lighting it up overseas. And you guys got a guy like Marcus Foster. Marcus Foster has just been lighting it up in the TBT. I mean, he's one of the highest fantasy points per game out of anybody playing, in the TBT. So you got guys like that. But just a solid team. They're going to be a tough team. They're going to have the home crowd, and so if I do make any changes, it very well could be this game because they're going to be a great team.
I'm just absolutely fascinated by this game. It's one of the ones I really want to make sure I watch on television. I think it's going to be a lot of high quality. I love the idea. I personally am team pay the players. So I am very pro G League Elite. I'm very pro straight to NBA. I'm very pro anything that allows talent to get paid for its work. You go to college to become better at your career. So there's no reason these guys can't do whatever their appropriate learning is. That's not to devalue education. Education is great, and people should still look at college ball if they want the best of both worlds. If they want a college experience with their basketball. There's nothing against that. The best NBA guys, a lot of them still go through college ball because you get some credits towards your education. But I see no reason to force people to. I think the G League Elite, or G League Ignite, I think Overtime Elite are the future. I love the concept. I can't wait to see this team. I think it's just fascinating, a matchup. Making them play on someone else's home floor too is really exciting. All right, one more matchup. This one's really going to be fun. Team Arkansas has made themselves into a top-tier favorite of everybody. There's a lot of talent versus the guys. Now, before we get into this in a deep thing, we actually were able to tape an interview with the head coach of Team Arkansas, Monty Patel. You want to roll that right now, Char? Should we do that?
Yeah, let's talk to Monty a little bit here.
Okay, let's bring my interview up with Monty up. So let's go. Let's roll the tape. Hey guys, this is ZoomTheTBT, and we are here today starting up our Omaha regional preview. Today's guest to talk about that is head coach of Team Arkansas, Monty Patel. Monty, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Not bad. Looks like you are calling me from, it looks like the back of a cave is where you're at right now.
I'm in my theater room.
Oh, you're in your theater room.
The lights off, and we got semi-pro going on the TV just to get in the zone.
Oh, definitely. Semi-pro works. Who is the best player you think in the movie Semi-Pro, in fact?
Farrell, for sure.
Definitely Phil. That makes sense. It's a wonderful, wonderful film. And frankly, I don't know how it didn't win a ton of Oscars, if we're being completely honest. So obviously, Team Arkansas is one of the top-tier contenders, a lot of talent, especially in the backcourt with Jalen Barford and Dusty Hannes. Hannes is still sort of busy right now, obviously. So what is availability looking like, you think, in Omaha?
For Dusty's sake, I don't know. I'm hoping the league stuff works out. Obviously, you want guys to get their goals, and hoping something with the Bucks works out and shakes out for him to where he can't make it for his sake. Yes. Obviously, selfishly, I'd love to have him, but if we don't, we know there's good reason to it. So, good luck to him, and I hope it works out for him.
Yeah, maybe there's a great way you can get the deal but still have a carve out for some of TBT. That'd be like the best of both possible worlds, which is unlikely, but still something we can hope for. Let's go ahead and bring up your team card real quick. And you can see there's some real talent on this team. I mean, obviously, what kind of a role do you see former GM and now star wing Sonny Weems playing for you guys?
I mean, man, Sonny's practiced the last 2 days. He's looked good. He's a very, great leader. He sets a tone for the guys and just talks to them. He shows his basketball IQ when we're going through some of the stuff we're talking about. So, I mean, Sonny's going to be Sonny, for what Sonny is, just a good dude that's putting in the work and taking care of his business.
Totally makes sense. Now, obviously, it's got to be a great sort of way to have Barford be able to play on and off the ball. He is probably one of the most electric scorers in TBT, a fierce on and off, and definitely someone who can get a bucket in crunch time. How much of a luxury is it a coach to be able to run things you want to run while still having a guy who can just get you a bucket as needed?
Oh, I mean, it's nice. Look, Barford is a bucket. We've always known that. Even at Arkansas, his finishing package is very elite. So, I mean, he makes the job easier, and I mean, he's got guys around him that make his job easier too. So that's what's going to make it fun.
Yeah, and also having him make jobs easier. He's got a lot of guys to kick to. You can see from the team card, there's a lot of guys who shoot at a high level on your team and also do it on a high number of attempts. A guy like Spencer Reeves playing German Pro A and shooting 44% on 5 a game. I mean, that's pretty sick. So, like, how is this going to work on offense? You trying to run 5-4 out? Like, what are you trying to do from a basic offensive thing? Don't give me anything your opponent can scout, but so the fans understand, what is Team Arkansas' style of play going to be?
I mean, we're going to be fast. We're going to be aggressive. Got a lot of type A personalities, so we're going to play to that.
That makes sense.
We've got guys that can space the floor. We've got guys that can score in different ways. We've got guys that can make good reads. So it's just not overcoaching. I think that's what happens a lot of time when people take on a title of a coach, but just helping guys get in the best situation possible for their talent.
Totally makes sense. I'd love to hear that. Now, also, this team you got a lot of different age ranges, all the way from down to like 23, 24, up to some of your Weems at 35. Like, do you like that mix of ages? You've got enough young Colts to keep the press up, to keep the ball moving, but enough vets you know what to do in a crunch time. How does the very strong mix of ages work in Team Arkansas's favor?
I mean, for us, Bobby Portis said it best. He put it on Twitter not too long ago. Every team needs veterans. Every team needs guys that have been there and done what some of the younger guys are trying to do. So there's such a respect factor of, hey, we know what you've accomplished in your career. Help us, get to that stage. Tell us your experiences. Lead us by example. So that helps a ton for especially the young guys. I mean, you even think about CJ. He's only been a professional for a year. And last year when we took him, he had never been a professional basketball player. So being around the older guys kind of helped him just kind of understand what it is to be a pro.
Totally makes sense. Got to have that sort of mixability, obviously. Looking ahead to some of your opponents, let's start on the earlier things. Your first opponent, you guys have a very respectable seed as a 2 seed, which frankly, that's about where you guys belong. You are a top tier title contender in most people's eyes. What have you started scouting the guys STL first of all?
Yes, we have. They've, we looked them up first just to kind of see what we were getting into, which is entertaining in itself. I love, our social media team having a little back and forth, good sport. It's about stuff. But I mean, yeah, we've looked into them. We've got our scouts. We've got our, what we need to know so far about them.
Totally makes sense. Now, is it interesting? Because like your region is filled with a lot of good teams, I'll tell you, as are all the regions. You kind of have a wild card team. You kind of know what you're going to get with most of the teams. Is it a little interesting playing a high upside, high variance, almost YouTube celebrity team as opposed to like a more traditional team? Do you see it as a blessing and curse or just the way the TBT works?
See, I mean, I don't see it as that. I mean, they got guys that can play, and you just look, and you got 2 guys that are playing in the Germany Pro League, like the A League of that. So, like, they can play. These guys, they might just be, goofing around a little bit and having some fun. But at the same time, when those lights come on, everyone's just as competitive as everyone else.
Yeah, totally makes sense. Now, not to look ahead, but I mean, this region has, again, quality teams throughout, but there is a bit of a whiff of top heaviness. Like, obviously, if seeds hold out, you would make the regional final against the Gutter Cat Gang, nay, Team Hines, which is a very interesting group because it's a Team Hines-led team with the sort of NFT sort of vibe, a sort of emerging of a couple of brands. First of all, obviously, we're not looking ahead in the sense you got one game at a time. We're not going to discredit your opponents. Everybody in TB can get a bucket. So I'm not saying you're going to get there. I'm not going to disrespect your opponents. I'm sure you won't either. But what would a matchup against Gutter Cat look like?
I mean, it would be fun. The further you go, the more fun it gets because, you know what's at stake. There's $1 million on the table. So, I mean, we've looked and we've just got our templates ready for every team in whatever situation comes. Again, I've got 4 phenomenal assistant coaches on our staff that are all college, thinking college coaches. And so, even in matchups like the NCAA tournament, you've got to be ready for who your next opponent's going to be. And you've got to have a scout somewhat prepared. So we've done a good job of that. I mean, they're a EuroLeague all-star team. We know that. We know Hines. We know Rice, Michael Rowe. So, I mean, like, we've looked. But, I mean, our number one focus is still the guys. We want to make sure that we're ready for that game. We know what we're doing. We know how we're going to play them, and then just, try to get it out. This tournament is a one and done, so you can't mess around and look ahead trying to look even at the $1 million. All I care about is getting one more game each time.
Definitely makes sense. Now, you mentioned the whole preparation thing, and one thing people don't understand about TBT versus a more traditional tournament is the schedule is condensed. It's actually less condensed this year than usual. There are a couple off days, which is rare for this event, but you're still playing if you went out 3 games in 4 days. So are you having to pre-prep some of these games just in case a little bit because you still have to be ready to prep a team if you win? And how does your staff help you with that?
I mean, my staff is awesome. My staff understands what this is and how this should work, and they've been very helpful to me with their knowledge in terms of, hey, you've been doing all the recruiting and the fundraising side. We're going to take care of everything else on the basketball court, and that's what a good staff does. It's just how a college staff works as well. The head coach is taking care of the PR. The head coach is taking care of the main decisions and who they're offering a scholarship to, and in our case, who we're offering a spot to. And then we just make sure that our staff is like on top of the scouts, and then they talk to me about the ideas they have, what I'm comfortable with, and if I'm comfortable with it, we roll. And if we don't, we talk about what I think's better, and they tell me what they think's better, and then I make the ultimate call.
Totally makes sense. And I like the fact you're mentioning your staff. I've always been a big believer, if you give credit, you get credit. People are jealous to guard their own credit. In reality, no one's an island. If you have a good team, it makes everybody better. So it's very enlightening and sort of like really respectful to hear you giving your staff that kind of credit, which raises the question.
Mention my staff. I mean, if I don't mention those guys are what keep me sane in all this. I'm running around. I'm in a group message. We're talking scouting. Those guys are recruiting still and doing their college jobs. But at the same time, like, they're still making sure I have the time I need to help put everything I have in my mind to play. We've literally, even one of our assistant coaches, Carter Vance, we were talking about Dawson Yates from Harding, and he was like, dude, he has no ego. We walk in the gym. He's the first one there. He's wet mopping the court just for the players to make sure we're on a good court. And, we have a nice court. It was probably wet mopped earlier that day, but he did it again. And just, what do you need? What do you need us to do? How can I get this done? And so by all means, if I can ever brag about my staff, I will, because I know what it's like to be an assistant, and assistants never get credit. And I think assistants make all staffs run.
That totally makes sense. Now, talking about your staff also leads into sort of like how long you've been around. Team Arkansas in multiple iterations has been in multiple tournaments, had some success, obviously trying to build on that. How does having a repeating TBT team that has been here before under current leadership give you a leg up over first-time or newer teams?
Experience in TBT, just experience in anything helps. Just the next year and the next year, there were some things we saw during the gameplay. There was things we went back and watched on our film on our own personnel, and then what we needed to add and what, we maybe needed to move on from. But that has to fit your team and the personnel you have, and it has to fit the coaches and what they're comfortable letting happen. But especially in this, it's still, you keep it as simple as possible, and you kind of use your experience to understand that.
Totally makes sense. Does TBT need to come to Arkansas? How would Arkansas be able to host this event in future years?
I would love if TBT were to come to Fayetteville. I would guarantee a sellout. It's the fan base in Arkansas. People don't understand this that are outside of Arkansas. University of Arkansas is the professional team in Arkansas. It sells out. I've got a player that played for me playing at Arkansas now, and every game is almost a sold out or as close to selling as you can get. We're breaking sound barriers to when we're playing Kentucky. We beat Auburn. We have a good time. So, this is the dead period. Arkansas is a basketball state. People want to say it's a football state, and I respect football a ton. We're a basketball state. We produce basketball talent. We keep basketball talent in state. We put basketball in the NBA. So it's like, how do we get this to Fayetteville? What needs to happen? Part of it is we've just got to win and get more attention to TBT and Team Arkansas itself to get it over there.
Last question, I'll let you go. What do the fans of the program need to understand if they're listening to this about why they need to be invested in Team Arkansas and TBT?
For us, it's like showing that these Arkansas guys are still human, still around, that there's life after they leave Arkansas, what they're doing, where they're playing, getting to see their old players. Even going through a what-if scenario. What if Jalen Barford and Sonny Weems were on the same college basketball team? You've got Sonny Weems who beat out Eric Gordon in the second round of the NCAA tournament, to Jalen Barford and Trey Wade, who lose to 2 different North Carolina teams. So, what if they're on the same team? You've got just all kinds of what if scenarios to me that makes the most fun. Because, even guys talk about it all the time. Who has the best alumni team? Who would you put together on your alumni team? And for us, we're trying to get that alumni team put together. And on top of that, still be competitive enough to go get the alumni and friends. It's like, I like it kind of like Iron Man putting the Avengers together. He's got his boys, and then he's still got to go get some heavy hitters from the outside. So
definitely makes sense. Well, it is a what if, and we're going to be seeing how far you guys go with your what if. So we're really looking forward to seeing Team Arkansas. Both Charge and I are big fans of the program. We're expecting big things this year. Again, Monty Patel, head coach of Team Arkansas. Thanks for swinging by.
Appreciate you.
Man, Monty was on point. He's got a lot going on in that video, doesn't he? Now, he mentioned that Daryl Hannah's may not be able to make the first game because of the way his summer league, and hopefully it's going really well. So we'll go to that slide now as we talk about it. So first, before we get into the depth of Team Arkansas, maybe we talk a little bit about how the summer league and other commitments kind of give TB teams a challenge.
Yeah, no, obviously, when it comes to summer league, most GMs have to make a decision between the first week of TBT or the second week of TBT. And this is one of those cases where if you lose a guy like Dusty Hanna's in the first weekend, it gives an opportunity for guys like the guy St. Louis to, sneak up and, such a critical part. And there are a handful of guys that are playing in the summer league, could get, training camp rosters, could get, different situations overseas where their, agents don't want them to play. But that's one of the biggest challenges is always kind of juggling this roster and finding the right moves, the guys that can make it for the weekend. But so summer league, as exciting as it is, you were down there, had a great time. Definitely put some stress on the GMs of these teams.
You have to come next year. It was you and I are huge basketball nerds, and I did not have a single conversation. We're both pretty knowledgeable guys. I did not have a single conversation where I knew more about basketball than the person I was talking to. Not once the entire time I was in the stadium. And I know more than everybody else I talked to besides you. So that was kind of shocking.
Hopefully work calms down just a little bit by next year. So it's been a wild year, both TBT and putting content together.
Basketball, gambling, drinks. Basketball, gambling, drinks. You play poker? You play poker? No,
I do not. You know, I'm as conservative as it gets. I like my money. I like to keep it. So I won't put you on the spot and ask you if you want to.
I kept mine. No, I kept mine. I was someone else's money. Screw that. I'm a decent at poker. See, poker. So when you play the casino, I figured this out finally. When you play table games, it's tough to be casino. When you're on a poker table, you just can't be the worst guy at the table. I just took someone. I wasn't the best guy. But I took the worst guy's money is what I did. By the way, you tell how tired I am. I said, I abused some poor bastard. By the way, you know how tired I am? It's Dusty Hanna's. I said Daryl Hanna's.
You did. I didn't even correct you.
I clearly have like mermaids on the mind or some crap or mannequin. What the hell kind of movie she was in? Like clearly it's been a long week already. I'm talking about Daryl. Dusty Hanna's.
Yeah.
I mean, they look basically. They look the same basically if you're thinking about it. Okay, so. Without Dusty, you still have only for one game, hopefully. You've got to still got your wrestler. Obviously, Barford is electric. I mean, he's a one-man offense to himself, and he's still surrounded by some really good shooting, some good talent. What's the big question, Charge? How much will Sonny Weems play and contribute, right? That's the question.
Yeah, I think it's, kind of a 1-2. I think Weems is going to get the most conversation, but Courtney Fortson, obviously, I mean, these guys are 34, 35, so you're kind of putting your faith in some older guys to step up and, still put up some big numbers. Yeah, no, there's nothing wrong with putting your faith in the older guys. Mike from Team Heartfire will tell you that as well. They're seasoned at just the right age, a little over 30. So that's going to be the thing. Obviously, the depth. And I haven't followed basketball in China or what Courtney Fortson's been up to, but obviously I'm sure they're still in game shape and ready to run in TBT 2022. But there's a lot of depth that's going to be missing with Dusty Hanna's. So as you get past kind of that big three of Barford, Weems, Fortson, I think the depth gets a little bit thin, and that can pose a challenge for him if the guy St. Louis gets him on the ropes a little bit.
Speaking of the guy, St. Louis. So this is a fairly interesting roster. It's a fun roster. And I thought they were just sort of like clowns. I didn't know these guys actually, a lot of them can play. I thought they were just some guys who dunked on YouTube. I started reading stats. I'm like, no, they play in the G League. No, they play for Pro. No, they play in Mexico. They play in real leagues. They're not just guys who are dunking, having a good time. Shows you how I don't know this, but they've got some real ballers there. So what kind of a chance do you offer them against Team Arkansas?
Like I said, I mean, Team Arkansas, unfortunately, has struggled in the TBT. They've got some wins. They've played, well in a couple TBTs, but haven't gone deep. They only have a 2-3 record, so they got that history, kind of almost war ready esque, not to the same level, but
don't invoke the name.
No, so I mentioned that a couple times that. You have those type of situations where teams just historically struggle, can't put your finger on it. So I hope Team Arkansas puts their best foot forward and, really makes the guys push them a little bit. I mean, when I saw Jordan Barnes' numbers, those are crazy numbers that he's putting up in, the Pro A in Germany, which is a great league, 18 points, shooting 38% on 8 attempts per game, which is just fantastic.
Attempts.
Yeah, so these guys, like I said, that was the one thing similar to what you mentioned that surprised me is because I obviously started watching their YouTube videos when I first started seeing these guys and circulating about TBT. The thing that's going to be the mystery to me is they've been very, very clear that you're going to see the same brand of basketball that you see in the YouTube videos on the court in Omaha. And so if we're going to see a fight in one region this year, it could very well be coming right out of the gate with Team Arkansas and the guys, I just can't.
It's going to be in Xavier. It's going to be no, because they're not playing each other.
They're not playing each other, but who knows? Maybe in the friendly game they're having a crosstown scrimmage. I can't remember. What
they're having a friendly game.
Oh, yes, they are, which is the wrong bracket, but Zip 'em Up's doing some great things down there, partnering with Nasty Natty, to make it a great experience for people down in Cincinnati. So we'll talk about them later. But yeah, this team, they do have professional guys that can compete. So, it'd be interesting to see what kind of lane they try to run in. Do they try to keep their same brand? Is that something that would be successful at TBT? Will that, kind of distract them? I don't know, and that's what I love about it. It's just such a big unknown. I have no idea what we're going to get, but I can't wait to see it. It's either going to be fantastic and fabulous, or it's going to be a train wreck, and I'll be there to watch it.
It'll be entertaining either way.
Yeah.
All right, so good picks. So let's get to the picks. So we talked a little bit about this. I'll just bring them up. So we kind of shared a few picks. And it's freezing right where it gets interesting. Yep. So we both had the same champion. This did come out before we learned that Dusty Darrell Hannes was not going to be able to play the first game, probably. But still, I think even with that, they still have enough. That's no disrespect to Gutter Cats, obviously. And we're both, I think the only one we really disagree on is always us. I have no good reason. I just think that because underdogs have never really lost that sort of game, I think so. But you see a lot of chalk. You see a Gutter Cats Team Arkansas final, correct?
Yeah. This is another one. This particular region is a lot more intriguing now that we've been able to deep dive it and really look at some of the players on the team, seeing some of the matchups. And so these were my initial picks, but I think Always Us has a shot to win this region. I think Gutter Cat Kings has a shot. I was a lot higher on Team Arkansas previously. I think they lack some depth that some of the other teams like Gutter Cat may have, or Always Us will have. So, I think that could be a challenge for them. So I have a little bit of concern about them going deep, even though I have them going, I think, to the final four of my bracket. So this is one I'm going to have to definitely review, but Blue Crew is solid. So at the end of the day, you're asking me to commit to chalk, and I'm like, I have no idea anymore. So it got way muddier. It got way muddier after I deep dove it, but I think Gutter Cat Gangs is definitely going to be in the regional finals, but who they play against is up in the air, and can they even get past Always Us is no guarantee. So this one's going to be messier than I think most people think it is.
Nothing wrong with messy. Messy's where the fun is. All right, Charge. So another good regional preview. We're done with 2 of 8. Still some work to do. The games start by the time this gets released, which will be tomorrow, Friday. The games start a day after these get released. Are you ready to get started with this stuff?
Oh yeah, no, it's 16th can't come fast enough. So, you saw that promotion TBT and Sling combining forces. So, got to get
So
slinged up. I know you're a big Sling fan, Hainer.
So it's really interesting, and so Sling won't like hearing this because actually I am a big Sling fan. This is interesting. So normally we do it in personal stuff because nobody cares. We have fun. Screw it. So this is interesting. I was one of Sling's very first customers because Sling's a few years, like they've been around for a while now, actually. And I was not making as much as I am now because architecture is kind of a slow burn. I didn't have cable at the time, so I'm like, this, cable's $100. Screw it. And the idea of getting ESPN for $20, it was amazing. So the minute it happened, I was like, literally, my girlfriend will tell you it's the happiest she had seen me in a year when Sling came out. I was like, I get ESPN. I was like jumping around, and she was like, "What happened? Did you win the lottery?" I'm like, "Sort of." So yeah, Sling is incredible. and the only reason I no longer have Sling, I had Sling for years, and the only reason I don't now is because we and my girlfriend moved within our same building from an upper floor to a lower floor in our same building in Brooklyn. We actually sold and bought in the same building for a slightly bigger place, but a lower floor. And because we're a lower floor, we can't use antennas anymore. And Sling doesn't have local television, which means no ABC, no CBS. And there's no real cheap way to get it unless you pay for cable. So we end up getting Hulu. So I'm a massive Sling fan. And if they had local television, I'd be back in a minute. But I love the brand. I love the way it's being called the Slingshot. I think it's great that two brands I've followed since they basically started. In Sling's case, literally, I was one of their beta customers. I was a customer before they were full released. I was like literally one of their first 500 customers in the world. So I love the partnership. It cracks me up. I'm like, hey, I remember those guys. So it is very cool. It's a great branding opportunity. I think TBT and Sling, who are both iconic class companies, I love it. I think it's great. So
I'm excited about it too. So I wanted to bring that up. But so I'm that classic cheap person who I cut the cord years ago. So about twice a year, I will get my month of Sling and watch the TBT. And if the Charge happen to play on one of the ESPN stations on a game, then I'll pick it up for the Charge game. So that's what you get from me. I'm not the best Sling customer, but I love the product and I always had great luck with them. You're not paying me enough to do this show to be able to keep Sling year round, man.
Oh my God. I love this. I'm like, we both love Sling. You used it free trials. I haven't used it in 2 years, but we're big fans. Yeah, this is the kind of quality.
They'll catch you eventually. I pay legit. It's like Netflix. Eventually they'll catch up to you.
No, that's fair. It's fair. All right, Charge. We got a few more to go. This closes our Omaha regional preview. So this is Zoom the TBT signing off.
Hope you enjoyed listening to Zoom the TBT with Charge and Hainer. Subscribe to YouTube, follow on Twitter, and give us your money.